The next 3 months are going to be the best 3 months of our lives because we together as a group watching or making this video are going to smash through our limiting beliefs. Now, I will very shortly get into the 5 techniques that we are going to be using over the next 3 months, but I first just wanted to share why I'm making this video. So when I was about 3, my parents got divorced and they spent the next 15 to 20 years prioritizing me, driving for hours at weekends to make sure I could see both of them. They gave all of their financial resources pretty much to fund my education and make sure I had everything I could ever want. They were, as parents, like truly inspirational. And I know most people say that about their parents, but mine really were. But after they'd given me basically everything I could want, and then we'd been on holiday and they covered necessities, we were never poor, but I don't think my parents ever really had money to spare. And that meant that because I went to a private school on a bursary and was always around people with money, but didn't really come from that background, I think I've always fantasized about being wealthier. I was in my bedroom as a kid, like the guy running a little shop, and I would like note down the money I was making selling pretend things because I didn't have any siblings at the time. I've just made 50p selling some toy that probably cost £20. And that to me was always, I guess, sort of an obsession growing up. Now fast forward to today, and clearly I earn good money in my job, but I 100% do have limiting beliefs about money. I think those limiting beliefs do, to an extent, come from my parents, from our relationship with money as I was growing up. The idea that time equals money and that time somehow correlates the amount of money you earn. I know that this idea that money is scarce and that you have to fight really hard to get the little money that there is in the world is kind of a belief that I've still had instilled in me. The idea that you have to have a real job in order to earn money. When I speak to my parents now about doing YouTube, they're really supportive, but they are still a bit like, yeah, sure, I know you can make a little bit of money doing that, but it's not a real job, is it? So that's definitely a limiting belief. And the last one, which is probably most fundamental, is I think this belief that in a way, like considerable wealth, you know, being a millionaire, for example, is somehow kind of dirty, I guess. If you get to the point of having considerable wealth without having spent your whole life kind of grafting away to get there, you've somehow cheated. That is just one example of a limiting belief. I have tons of others, for example, like that I can't do endurance sports because growing up I always had a very low pain threshold, was always kind of pathetic when I tried to run more than about 20 minutes. Or the idea that I can't avoid chronic back pain because in my family we have a history of back pain, and so I have this belief that like actually there's no point me even trying to avoid it. I'm going to be kind of crippled by back pain at some point. Beth is trying to fight me out of that one, and a whole bunch of other limiting beliefs. Effectively, if there's anything that you say to yourself, I am or I cannot, with a sense of permanence, the chances are it's a limiting belief where you think something is true as a permanent state about yourself. I am lazy, but that is never true. It's never true that you are like universally lazy and destined to be lazy forever. So basically, this video is kind of an invitation to use the next 3 months to really blitz towards our goals, to really focus, to really work hard. There's this concept I got from Jay Shetty of life being like seasons, where you have these periods of growth, leaves are on the trees, and then these periods of kind of compression where you need to look after yourself. And I'm basically inviting you to come along with me to push, to grow for the next 3 months. And let's see where we can get to. And I am along the way going to be using the 5 techniques I'm about to share, which are 5 of the most powerful techniques that I've come across, that I've built into my own life, but I really want to focus on for improving confidence, generally meaning that we take action and move towards our goals. So as 3 techniques are all about your attitude, and then the last 2 are about taking action. And the first technique is to overcome loss aversion. So loss aversion is a cognitive bias that was first discovered by a guy called Amos Tversky and his then associate kind of underling, a guy called Daniel Kahneman, became quite famous. Essentially, you'd rather avoid loss than gain. And that means that even where there is, on a calculated kind of rational basis, a reasonable risk that can be taken, often people don't take it. And for me, I know that this effect is exacerbated by another human preference for keeping options available. So it's easier to say, like at work, I haven't got any new clients yet for the firm, but like I haven't really tried. So if I do try, like obviously I will, but haven't tried yet. This idea of like keeping the option of doing that open to you, meaning that you probably would do it, you gave it a go, but actually you're not going to try for now, is sort of an easier position to be in than trying and coming to the realization that actually it's harder than you were allowing yourself to imagine. So when you put together loss aversion and keeping options available, in my opinion, this kind of leads us to a state of paralysis where we don't want to try anything. You might also have heard this referred to as analysis paralysis. We choose all the different options we might like to explore, but never actually do anything. So the first technique that's going to be built on in the second technique is really just to take action. Take whatever action you think will have the desired outcome. Imagine that the desired outcome will happen on the basis of the action that you take, and then if it doesn't, try a different action. Basically, as long as you're doing something, you're learning what works, what doesn't work, that is productive. If you're doing nothing, it's hugely unproductive, you're procrastinating, and you need to start taking action in order to move forward. So before we move on, there is one tool that helps me get in the state of mind of I am going to be focused, I am going to get into a state of deep work and produce high quality work, and that is today's sponsor, Endel. So Endel is without a doubt the single best app I've ever had to get me in the zone whenever I'm finding it hard to concentrate on work, especially if there's background noise where I'm working, which I'm particularly bad at blocking out. Endel is informed by science, created with science, and backed by science. It's an environment-based app that takes everything we know about sound to create real-time personalized soundscapes that help with focus as well as relaxation and sleep. I genuinely find Endel complements my body's natural circadian rhythms. Using its AI-powered technology to help me relax when I'm stressed, I always listen to Endel's relax mode on my way home from work when I've had a tough day, or to reliably get me in the mood to sleep even when I feel a bit restless. I absolutely love their gentle alarm that slowly wakes me up in the morning rather than that we all know and hate. And I'm also a huge fan of Endel's scenario mode, which allows me to tell the app, okay, I'm gonna do deep work now, I'm gonna do it for 60 minutes, and then I get a soundscape to help me get in the zone for that entire work session. So if you want to start using Endel's amazing soundscapes that keep me focused for hours pretty much every single day, follow the link in the description, and the first 100 people to download Endel by clicking the link in the description or scanning the QR code will get a free week of audio experiences. The second technique is to reimagine your fears, and fear is just our imagination of a bad thing that often is pretty unlikely to happen. The key point though is that although fear is indeed imaginary, it is just in our heads, it has an impact on the outcomes in the real world. It has been shown that when we expect something to happen, it is more likely to happen. So if fear takes over and you expect a bad thing to happen, it's more likely that bad thing will happen. This is where the idea of self-fulfilling prophecy comes from. So as many of you will know, I am a big cold shower fan, and I've been cold showering for about the last 2 years, but over the last month or two, I've kind of let the habit slip a little bit. I've got out of the discipline of doing it, and this morning, I was in the shower looking down at the tap thinking, should I turn it? Don't really want to, kind of fear this cold water. I've kind of got out of the habit of this and it's not pleasant. And the fear took over. Instead, I then was like, no, I'm making a video today about overcoming your fears and your limiting beliefs. So number one, I immediately thought about Granny swimming in ice cold water and how much colder it is for them. And I also thought about how quickly the initial shock that I knew I was going to feel from my experience would actually pass and it wouldn't be that bad. So I really just put the loss, i.e. the pain of taking a cold shower, into perspective. And I then, second, focused on the upside. I thought about the physical benefits that I know cold showering gives me. I went straight in for the cold shower. And as you would expect, obviously, I was absolutely fine and I felt great for the rest of the day. So in addition to playing down your fears and focusing on the upside, here's a third technique, which is to think in the third person. This is the idea that if your friend came to you and said, I'm not going to put myself forward for this piece of work at work because I think I'll mess it up, I'm not experienced enough, would you say, yeah, you're probably right, you're probably not that smart, not that clever, not going to do that well? Or would you say, hold on, you're a really smart person. You've just done all the pieces of work really well. Everyone loves you here. You're doing a great job, so why not put yourself forward? You probably do the latter in the vast majority of cases. We're way more critical of ourselves and way less able to put our fear in context when it's us we're thinking about. So often imagining yourself as a third person and analyzing your fears and the upside of doing something is much more realistic when you're thinking as though you were someone else. So final attitude technique, and it's to write a positive self-story every day. I came across this in Stephen Bartlett's new book, A Diary of a CEO, which, to be fair, is absolutely brilliant. I recommend it incredibly highly. One of the best personal development books possibly I've ever read, and that is like a pretty big statement, so yeah, do go and read it. And the idea here is just simply that in every action we take every single day, every decision that we make, we are writing our own self-story. So when you think, I'm at the end of this 10 rep set and I'm at 8 and I just can't be bothered, I'm just gonna put these down, you are telling yourself the story that physically you're likely to give up if things get hard. If you are doing a piece of work and you think, actually, I'm just not gonna do this to the best of my ability, you're telling yourself you don't really care about that, it's not that important to you, and it may be that only you will know that you skip 2 reps at the end of your set. But that does matter because you are the person that matters when it comes to the story that you tell yourself about what you are like. It means that when you next face challenge, will you have shown resilience to yourself, proved to yourself that you are able to do it, or will you have built in this kind of learned helplessness into your story, which is, I've learned that not really that able to keep going when things get tough, so when it actually gets tough, you capitulate. I think it's way too easy to play down seemingly inconsequential decisions that happen in our daily life and underplay the impact those have on our lives. So in the next 3 months, we have the ability to write our self-story in a radically different way, to make the right decision every time, and to teach ourselves that we are capable of doing what we think is actually legitimately, if we look ourselves in the mirror, best. Let's move on into the actual actions that we're going to take over the next 3 months. So last 2 techniques, we're focusing on taking action, and technique number 4 is therefore to prioritize. 3 months is not a long time. 12 weeks will go exceptionally quickly. And so we absolutely need to get into the state of mind of, what are the things in terms of all of my goals, all of the things that I set at the start of the year that I absolutely want to accomplish? And then what are the habits and the tasks that I need to complete in order to get there? Only set 3 or 4 maximum items from your overall goal list to focus on, to absolutely hammer for the next 3 months, and make sure they happen by the end of that 3-month period. So I actually did this exercise, went through all of my goals and distilled it down to 3 or 4 essential goals I really want to focus on for the rest of the year. And those are, number 1, at work, I want to really foster one particular client relationship that I've built and make really deep contacts at that client. I prioritize workloads this year, so that is going to be my main focus alongside just keeping up my general high standard of work. On YouTube, I'm focused on watch time. I'm trying to hit the goal of doubling my watch time against last year. May not make it, but I'm focused on that by making 3 videos a month is my goal. And I want to do that in high performing video categories, which I genuinely believe have a chance of going viral every time. I then have 2 Menos goals, and Menos is the backpack business, if you have been living under a rock, that Beth and I run, that we created for driven people who really want to get the most out of life, for professionals who want a brand that says, I care about working hard, succeeding in my career. So if you are one of those people, you should go and get yourself a Menos backpack. Anyway, my goals are 1, to release the Ocean Edition, clear, concise goal that I can achieve. And 2nd, I really want us to build more of a community of people who have all of those beliefs I just talked about. So I want us to send an email twice a month to Team Menos, people who've bought our backpack or people who are just interested in the brand and associate with the values. And if by the time this video comes out, I have created a page where you can go and sign up for that email list, I'll include a link down in the description. And then my final health goal that I want to prioritize is benching 80 kgs. I set this goal at the start of the year just to give me something to focus on when I'm going to the gym. I'm currently going to the gym 4 or 5 times a week, really happy with my current physical shape and generally how I'm doing at the gym. Just 10 kg away, I'm currently benching 70, so I think it's very doable, but I just want to focus on that. Just something to look back on and say, I achieved. All right, gonna put this guy down, and then we are into the final technique, which is to put in the hours. So look, one of the first books I read about psychology and personal development was Bounce by Matthew Syed, and he is the guy who really popularized the idea of 10,000 hours to mastery. I know it has become unpopular to talk about hustle and grind, and I fundamentally agree that it's definitely not good to judge your entire worth based on your work and your work product, and that you have to grind away your life for 100 hours a week in order to be successful. But in order to make progress towards your goals, and that goal could be fostering a healthy healthy relationship, so you spend more time with your partner, requires time inputted into taking action, whether that be habits on a daily, weekly basis, or individual tasks. This is where I want to pull together the attitude piece and the action piece. And I have a bone to pick with Mr. Ferriss. As much as I love Tim Ferriss and actually think the 4-Hour Workweek is a very helpful book, I think the title kind of leads us towards this misleading impression that you can, if you absolutely prioritize the right things, just spend 4 hours a week working and be hugely successful. The reality is obviously that to get good at something, you have to spend more time than other people do at it. You will never become above average if you spend the same amount of time doing the same things as the average person does. So over the next 3 months, I want us to be focused on trying to avoid thinking all the time about the downside, the risk, and instead focus on the potential upside of taking action. Go in almost when we take action with the assumption that it will work. If it doesn't, we'll then pivot and try something else. I am determined over the next 3 months to build a positive self-story by taking tough decisions at times, even in tiny day-to-day things that really build my confidence in my own ability, my ability to be resilient, my ability to take action, and alongside that, prioritize towards the right goals and just put some decent work in over the next 3 months so that in 3 months' time we can say, I've somewhat fearlessly, or at least more fearlessly than before, pursued my goals, I've taken action, and I've moved in the right direction. And if things haven't worked, I've learned a lot. So I'm seeing the next 3 months as an amazing opportunity, I guess, to have a condensed period of time where I can focus on being positive, being motivated, being driven towards my goals, and proving to myself that I'm able to work hard, I'm able to overcome limiting beliefs, and I'm able to really achieve things that I haven't yet achieved. So let's effing do this. And I'm expecting you to comment down below if you're joining me for the next 3 months, and then to come back and comment in 3 months' time on how you felt. Remember that you can subscribe to my channel if you so wish, and that it really helps me push up my subscriber numbers, make the channel look more popular, get more people involved, and so that you personally don't miss my videos, because YouTube is kind of random in what it throws at you these days. And please do also give this video a like if you found it helpful, because that helps the video get seen by more people, so I can help more people grow this channel, make more videos, spend more time doing this. Have an epic 3 months.